Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I have some very exciting news I want to share with you guys, as a 17-year-old from Ukraine has just won the European Chess Championship. The European Chess Championship has just finished 2 days ago, this past Sunday, and it took place in the city of Katowice, Poland, from the 7th to 19th of April of 2026. This tournament occurs annually, and I've even played it a couple of years ago, and usually only very experienced grandmasters, upwards of 2650 plus, win this event. So when a 17-year-old international master rated 2400 from Ukraine won this, it caused absolute storm in the chess world. He started as the 126th seed in the tournament in a pool of 500 players, and today I want to take you through some of his best games in this tournament, of how he crushed 2500s after 2600s on his way to eventually cause one of the biggest upsets in modern chess history, if not ever. First, I want to show you some cool stuff. So first, a photo of this very nice gentleman, so we have an idea of who we are talking about. He actually made an interview with the European Chess Union right after he won, right after the award ceremony. And man, he was talking about how he has exams coming up in June and he's still in university. So man, after this, you won't ever hear me complain about my exams ever again. Also, a very interesting story. Pavel Elyanov, who is a very distinguished grandmaster from Ukraine, has posted this tweet, I believe, right before he won, or right after he won, I'm not sure. I will read it. When the war started in early 2022, I tried to help several Ukrainian families relocate to Europe, mostly to England, thanks to my campaign and Andrew Churevin. In one case, everything was arranged for a family in Kharkiv until their 14-year-old son, a talented chess player, refused to leave at the last moment. He didn't want to abandon his father. He stayed in one of the most dangerous places in Ukraine, with very limited chances to travel and barely any practice. He still became Ukrainian champion. Now he's grown up, and he caused the biggest sensation in the history of the European Championship. Wow. Remember the name? Roman Detyarov. Not for nothing, our city Kharkiv is called Reinforced Concrete. I just thought that was a lovely story. It has already been talked about quite a lot in Twitter and in social media. And without further ado, let's get into some of Mr. Detyarov's best moments. Okay, we pick up the tournament in round 2. Round 1, he was playing below, and he also played a very good game, but it wasn't as interesting. In round 2, we get this line of the English. Now, I remember this was quite popular, just some context, a couple of years ago. For example, I believe this was used actually by Black, by Niepomniachtchi against Dinglirin, not in their World Championship match, but in the first game of the candidates of maybe 2021, I'm not sure, in Yekaterinburg. And Black has to be very precise. For example, here the best move already is knight a6, and Black has to really know what he's doing. It didn't seem that the player here with the black pieces knew it so well. And we get to this position, and you'll start to see Roman's style. I mean, it will really speak for itself over the next upcoming games. But here he already has an idea, somehow, that he can try and trap this bishop, which is incredible, because if you go f4, I'll just take en passant, and nothing is happening. So he starts with d4, exclamation mark. Black takes, and now f4, queen d4, and f5. So he's completely ignoring this pawn tension here. And the point is that if bishop h5, for example, I can trade queens, and then the bishop is actually just trapped to this semi-long-term plan of h3, g4. It's not that long-term, actually. Instead, Black played knight g4, tried to create some mess, but Roman navigated through it quite simply. He took on e3. Oh, there goes the mic. And then he went on to convert the game. So White here is very much winning because Black's king is completely in shambles. I will skip through the rest of the game rather quickly. We have a couple of games to see today. Yeah, he just pushes his pawns. The opposite colored bishops are very dangerous in positions like this, where a big attack is still taking place. And also, look at these two pawns. No one is ever touching them. And he went on to convert the game in a very smooth manner. Okay, there's just mate on e8. Moving on to the next game. Now he finally started playing above in the third round, and he was playing a grandmaster from Turkey, Emre Can. And this is really where the tournament starts heating up for him, okay? By the way, you'll notice across the next games, he always played a completely different opening with black, which is just incredible. But we'll see more on this later. So he plays this so-called Dubov classical Sicilian, where black goes for this two knights approach, but then switches his mind and wants to play a dragon. The downside of this is that white takes and leaves black with this isolated pawn. But this is seen from time to time mostly as a surprise weapon, and it worked out to perfection in this game. So f5, black tries to open up the bishop. Again, Roman's style, he's a very dynamic player, and he always likes to have the initiative and likes to have his pieces flowing. E takes f5, he takes, knight e5, knight e3, bishop e4. And the game was basically taking a very normal and well-behaved path up until this moment, where white plays the seemingly natural, humble move, queen a4. But now gets hit with a tactic already out of the blue. Completely out of the blue, because black didn't really prepare it or anything, but somehow this move should be a sign to you of what white has weakened in his position, what he has left behind. And there's this beautiful tactic here, knight f3 check. 2 exclamation marks. The point is that if you take with a pawn, I'm coming through with queen g5. And now if king h1, you just get mated. So you have to go knight g2. And I'll just pick up this knight while I have the bishop pair and your king is completely wide open. This is just a disaster. So Can went king h1. Now the queen flies in, the bishop flies in. Everyone is joining the party. And the game here is completely won. And it was just a matter of converting, which if you've never played over the board or even chess at all, you'll think that just because the computer says something is winning, the player should win. But these grandmasters, man, they put up a lot of resistance. And I believe there were even some more precise ways for black to convert, but he never dropped his advantage pretty much. And eventually, white came to resign on move 34. There's threats of queen e2 coming in. And, queen g3, bishop g3. That's pretty much all she wrote. Okay, on to the next game. Yeah, we'll go 2 rounds ahead. Since round 4 was a very simple draw against an ex-candidate player, Nijat Alasov. From this point on, by the way, he only played grandmasters and very strong grandmasters even until the end of the tournament, which is also impressive. Okay, this is round 5, and he's playing Isik Can, another Turkish player, hence the same surname. And this was really the only game in the tournament. I believe it was the only game even where Roman was lost. And he basically mixed up his prep in the opening and got a completely lost position right out of the opening. So this is the danger, kids, of playing, not the Caro-Kann, which is goated, but of playing several different openings. It's good to have, a couple openings in rotation so you don't get hit with a big prep that often and so on. But to play a completely different opening round after round against these guys, I think it's tough. I think it's too tough. And he kind of showed that in this game. So I don't really play this line, but this is still theory. So I don't know it that well. But basically here, for what I can infer from the moves and from looking at the opening book for a little bit, is that he mixed up his prep. Because he went bishop h6. And after queen a4, he went d4. And what happens is that after takes long castles and bishop b5, white is completely winning. You're just going to lose the pawn on d4 for nothing. And yeah. So what he intended to do, I believe, was to go d4 first and only then bishop h6. So I'm like 90% sure he mixed this up and this was in his files. And this is still theory, and black is doing all right. Okay, moving on with the game. So he got this crappy position, knight d5, queen goes back, loses the pawn, loses everything, loses another pawn, 3 pawns to the good, Yeah, he still plays on, you know, warrior mindset, but at this level, it doesn't really cut it. But to be fair, this was the only time in the tournament where this happened, and it was even more often the time where he was surprising his opponent and getting a good position. Okay, on to the next game. Right after this tough defeat, right, he lost almost without a fight. He bounces back against none other than Alan Pichot from Spain, previously from Argentina, I believe. Also a player that has been rated above 2600. Nowadays, he's kind of slightly behind that. He's usually oscillating around 25, 80, 90. Okay, we got a normal Spanish. The good old Rui Lopez, one of my favorite chess openings. This line with bishop d2. You might think this is kind of a weird grandmaster type of way of developing their pieces, and it is. But the point is that basically black's counterplay in these lines revolves around knight c5, for example, let's say like c3, d6, and even rook e1 just to transpose to some other stuff. Knight a5 and bishop and c5, this is usually what black is trying to do. Claim some space in the center, then come back with a knight and eventually try to break with d5 and get ambitious. So bishop d2 is aimed to prevent this knight a5 idea. Induces black to go b4 and only then goes bishop g5. So it's this kind of subtle game that you see often in the Rui Lopez, especially at this level. Okay, bishop g5, doesn't want the bishop exchange, drops back with the bishop, black claims his space, c3 happens, takes and d4. So white is first to hit the center, and he has a slight advantage. Okay, bishop f6, f3, knight b6, rook c1. Both sides just developing their pieces. Black breaks in the center because it's his God-given right. And now the game starts really to get interesting after rook c5. Rook c5, and again you can see Roman's style in action. He's always looking for dynamics. And you'll see where this rook ends up, basically, because it's not clear. I mean, of course, it's attacking the knight, but it's not clear where what the rook is doing now. Okay, they repeat for a couple of moves, and black decided to play on. I'm not sure if white would have accepted the draw anyways, but maybe he would have. He was playing above, after all. Knight e4. Now black comes in with this tactic, knight takes a4. So the idea is if queen a4, this knight on d4 is also dropping. But now rook takes a5 comes. So this was this rook's fate all along. That's where it was meant to go to be sacrificed. Black takes on b2 first. Now the game gets extremely complicated and sharp. It's often the case, by the way, when you see these very strong grandmasters play, where the game will be sort of mostly positional. They're both, deploying their forces, trying to improve their pieces, and all of a sudden the game just explodes, right? In a flourish of tactics, and basically whoever sees more than an opponent and calculates better wins the game. That's usually how, I'm not going to say like all of games take that history, but especially in the Rui Lopez, I feel like that's quite common. Okay, and the blunder is the very humble move queen takes a5. So it was necessary to eliminate this knight first. We'll see why right away. Knight takes f6. And now black's idea surely was to go queen a2, which is what he did. And how much material is black up? Like an exchange, yeah? And he for sure missed white's next move, excuse me. And it's very pretty if you want to take a moment to think for yourself. White to play and win in this position. And it's not a knight sacrifice. It's not like adding more fire into the fuel. No, it's this very calm and collected move, queen c2. Now this is really something. And I'm very curious to know how far back Roman actually saw this idea. It's incredible. And black played g6, which is funny, right? I mean, this knight is right here up for grabs. But if you take it, queen f5 is coming in, and this is already a forced mate, I believe. For example, after king g7, bishop h6 is a nice way to put the finishing touches, and then queen f6 and g4. A nice mate with the pawn, and the king going out for a stroll. Okay, g6 was played. But now it's pretty easy to wrap it up after having seen the tough part. The queen goes there, collects the knight afterwards. I mean, black's pieces are just too far away from the defense of the king. Queen h4 is coming in, and okay, he scoops up a bunch of material, and black just resigns. So an incredible game where he completely outwitted his opponent tactically. Now let's skip 2 moves ahead to another crushing attacking win, defeat on the opponent's part. This was against none other than Lorenzo Lodici, who had a hero story of his own. If you watched it last year in the World Cup, he reached very far, defeating the likes of Hans Niemann, if I'm not mistaken, and at least someone else of that caliber. And he reached probably the round of 8. I'm not sure he reached the quarterfinals, but let's see. So we get this mainline French. This is the classical variation, also called the Steinitz variation. And black played this sort of novel approach with rook b8. It's been played a bit at this point. I believe this is in some course by maybe Anish Giri or someone. I'm not a big expert in French. I can't really tell you what this move is trying to accomplish, other than getting his opponent into uncharted territory, which is what top players aim to do nowadays anyways. Okay, so some normal moves. White decides to go for short castles instead of long castles. a6, knight d4. So this kind of French where white always retains some positional edge. Bishop d3, b5, and basically here black goes for this, I mean, I don't want to say mistaken plan, because this guy's 2600 for a reason, and he probably knows better than me, but this, let's say that in the specific instance of this game, it doesn't work out too well. So his idea was to meet b3 with knight c4, which is quite interesting actually, and after takes, the bishop is trapped. Now, if you're going to lose material in chess, might as well take something for it. You can take this pawn or this one. Which one do you think is better? Well, clearly it's the h7 pawn, weakening black's kingside defenses tremendously. The knight comes in, and basically the attack just flows in very easily. So maybe black, yeah, also I don't know what queen c7 and queen c8 is, but maybe black mixed up something, or just had seen this concept. He surely had seen this concept somewhere else in some other game, but here it just didn't work out too well. And the attack is just coming in too fast. Knight g5, king g7. This knight is pretty much untakeable, because now just look at your dark squares. When I say pretty much, I basically mean you can resign now, because knight e4, knight f6 is coming in. So king g7. Now h4, there was an even more flashy and beautiful way to already wrap up the game, which is which is amazing, or at least gain like a huge attack with rook takes d7. Really quite something. The idea is, well, if queen d7, the knight on c5 is hanging, so you have to take like this. And now f5, crazy stuff, crazy stuff. And you know, judging by Romain's game, I wouldn't even be surprised if he saw this and eventually ruled against it for some concrete reason that I don't know. But the position is so complicated that easily there could be some detail that he was scared of. And the idea, of course, is that after pawn takes this, you're getting hit with knight takes f5, and the computer already claims a maiden 7. Instead, he went h4, which is nonetheless very strong. As you can see by black's last move, I mean, he doesn't have a smudge of counterplay. h5 coming through, queen e2, getting ready for queen g4, rook h6, and now the finishing blow, also not that easy to see, honestly. Knight takes f7, a beautiful shot. So black actually didn't decline the sacrifice, but the point is again that the pawn, the f pawn, is just breaking through black's defenses. For example, here, this pawn is pinned to the king. So rook h5, he didn't even bother taking the rook. Rook h4, and he just converts into this winning endgame. It's just winning material-wise. But, you know, even in this endgame, he didn't drop the, like, the side of the ball, which in this case is like the enemy's king. He's always out hunting for the enemy, for the king, and he always wants to checkmate the opponent, and it's quite remarkable. You know, often you'll see guys at this level play in a much more controlled and positional manner and whatnot. You know, just trying to do what's it called, like a technical conversion of the endgame, but not Roman, man. He's still going for mate even deep into the endgame, and actually, Lodici resigned after rook h4, not because he's getting mated, but but because after something like bishop c6, check, and then, I mean, whatever. It's not even bishop c6 is not the greatest move ever. But the point is this: it's just that you're getting hit with this discovered check, and then I'm taking on c3. Okay, let's keep going with this. Next round was against another Turkish prodigy. I didn't even notice when I was preparing for this video that he played against so many Turkish GMs, but another Turkish prodigy, not Yazkan Erdogmus. That guy was busy farming Topalov, but Ediz Gurel. Okay, that was a draw. And now the last two games were incredible, especially this game against Maxime Lagarde, played in the 10th round. Let's take a look. He plays this gambit line, which is super fun, but you have to be very well prepared at the GM level to venture yourself in such things. So black is just giving up a pawn for free, but he gets a ton of tempi and development in return. So d5, takes, knight g3, h5, crazy stuff. E3, h4, this is all still pretty well known. Now this move queen g6. And the point is that if white dares to take, it is possible. And actually, you have to tend to this threat of knight c7, so you just go bishop d6, and then bishop f5, and basically all your pieces are flying into the board. Again, from the games that I've seen of this guy, typical Roman Detjarov style. Okay, f3 happened, bishop d6, and it's funny how modern chess is. All the moves up until here from both players are the computer's best. And white has basically succeeded in making his position look like it was taken out of a freestyle chess game. Okay, bishop d3, bishop f5, take, bishop d2. Long castles, of course. We're not playing around here. King b8. Are we exchanging queens, guys? Down a pawn? Of course not. Knight b5, h3. Starting to provoke and prod a little in the on the king side. g4, queen h4. And now a blunder sort of, quote unquote, heard all around the world, at least on Twitter. This move, queen d3. Now, I gotta say, it is, you know, a blunder that you don't see a 26-21 opponent making every day. But I gotta tell you, man, like the biggest thing that I took away from this tournament of Romans is that when I mean, first of all, he was always pushing the tempo of the game in terms of playing these gambits, in terms of playing for dynamics and so on, not afraid to play these funky looking, crazy openings. And when his opponents gave him chances, he always took them. He never missed anything or left anything on the table. Here, black to play and win again. This one is a bit simpler. Bishop takes h2 is the move. White immediately declined. If king h2, you get mated like this. And if rook takes h2, it requires a bit more moves. But after rook e4 here, there's no defense against rook g4. King f1, and pretty much the game is wrapped up. But again, he kept on the pressure and didn't drop his foot off the gas pedal. Knight e7 and then f5, still pushing. g5, f4, takes, opens up the board further. Knight e5, rook drops back, knight comes in, exchanges some stuff, gets some more pawns on the way, gets the exchange, gets everybody. And now just this very simple, not even a tactic, just a move, really. Rook d6. Okay, on to the last game. By the way, on the last round, the 11th round, there was a 5-way tie for first. And I was actually watching this live, like the broadcast on Lichess. And it was very exciting stuff. And he played like the game of his life here against none other than David Anton Guijarro, which is one of Spain's strongest players, if not the strongest. I'm not sure how the rankings are these days, but he's rated 2656. Another Spanish, aka Ru Lopez. We get a slightly different variation, but okay, let's be honest here. These things look tremendously alike. Again, a very sort of positional battle up until here. This move, knight h2, this is instructive. So white is aiming to play knight g4 actually. So he realizes that the knight is not doing so much here. And even if it, let's say, lands on f5, black just goes g6 at some point and it's not doing that much. Knight h2, very, very instructive. The point in general actually is to take with the h-pawn. And this is useful because, for example, white gains this extra plan, this idea of swinging the rook over to g1 and sort of attacking like that. Okay, his very esteemed, very well-esteemed opponent wouldn't allow such a thing, so he goes h5. But this is where chess, white chess is so tricky and brutal. Like, a weaker opponent would have never cared to stop this plan that is so long-term in nature and not that threatening, right, in the short term. But his 2600 opponent realizes the threat and parries it. But it just so happens that in this position, it's not best because of Roman's next move. It's not a tactic, but it's truly an amazing positional concept / idea. He comes up with g4. Now, I was really impressed by this move because white is just voluntarily opening up his king side. And, it's not that clear that he has a massive attack, and he doesn't have one yet. But the point is not so much even to attack. I mean, he clearly wants to attack, but the point is that he wants to get the knight to g4 as well. So black doesn't even take. He goes c4. And now AB, gh5. Again, ruining his structure, but he wants to get the knight in there, and this one into f5. Takes, knight d5, queen b7, dc, trades the rooks, gets the queen over. b3. I'm going through these moves quickly, but they're played with extreme precision. They were played with extreme precision. For example, now this move bishop g5. I'm even under the impression that the lead chess computer at least was marking this as like a slight inaccuracy, but in practical terms, it's really tremendous. I believe black here needed to take on b3. Instead, he went rook e8 because there's this potential threat of knight e7 or sometimes bishop e7 in the air. So rook e8, queen e3. Now f5, rook a1, and basically, okay, another semi-tactic. If you take on g4, I take on a5. If you go knight b3, I have rook a7 coming in. Again, like the whole game is just played with such precision. But here comes probably the last mistake of the game. Black goes f4. And the problem with this move, I mean, black's position was already incredibly difficult. Just a quick disclaimer. But the problem with this move is that now it completely shuts off black's counterplay. You can see it makes the knight and the bishop just standing observers for the rest of the game. And let's see how our hero wraps this up. First, b4, fixing the weakness on b5, fixing all of black's bad pieces. It's also impressive how he sort of goes back and forth between really powerful and strong dynamics, right? Just pushing the tempo of the game, and then taking the time out to play these calm, very sound positional moves like b4. Okay, black goes f3 here. This is just desperation. He's just trying to mix things up. Gets a bunch of pawns and just starts exchanging pieces. Scholastic type stuff. And now queen h3 is just coming in with either mate or retrading everything. And David Anton had to resign, crowning our new champion that immediately got awarded the GM title, by the way. I believe that is like one of those special conditions that FIDE has, particularly for this tournament. I was super jealous of this guy, man, I gotta say, because I went to his FIDE to, just snoop around, and I saw that he became an IM just last year. Dude, but that's my level. Like, I became an IM last year. Oh, and he was 2400. He wasn't one of those 2500 Russian kids that's underrated. That doesn't have the title yet. Like, what do you mean you became an IM at the same time as me, and now you're already a GM, and he's already crossed 2500 after this tournament? because he gained a whopping 46 of elo. I believe this tournament is actually in the contention for the greatest upset I've ever seen, and like relative to the player's elo, the greatest tournament I've ever seen, period. Like, to my eyes, of course, there might have been better ones out there. But in terms of the elo gain, for example, he gained more than 4.5 Ks. Okay, K is the coefficient of the mathematical formula of elo, doesn't really matter, like the details, but if he had K40, for example, if he was a kid, like a normal kid, like 14 years old or something, and he was rated 2200, he would have won like 190 elo points. Like, just to put that into perspective. So this is absolutely insane. And yeah, I don't know what to expect of this guy. Let's hope he keeps playing chess like this and dazzling us all with his games. I hope you guys enjoyed this format of video, a bit more news oriented, and I hope you enjoyed the coverage of the games. I'll see you soon with more videos, guys. Peace out.